Hello everyone, you're listening to the Eiffel Tower podcast, a weekly look at Paris, France, and the characters that make the City of Light shine. My name's Oliver G, and well, I'm here again with what I consider to be a pretty interesting story. I think you're going to like this one. This is a chat with special guest Jacqueline Ngo Mpii, or Jackie as I call her, and we're talking about how she's working really hard to bring attention to a village in Paris that's known as Little Africa. It's more officially, it's known as La Goutte. And a couple of years ago, it got a lot of bad press because some of the media around the world referred to it as a no-go zone, which was actually a bit more of a no-no, if you hear what Jacqueline has to say. And she's in the middle of a campaign to build a cultural center in the heart of the Goutte. And, we chatted I guess it was a month ago when I did that charity push for Black Lives Matter. I actually got in touch with her and offered one of the prizes for the big raffle that I did was the book that she wrote. And so that's how we sort of got back and forthing. And then now she's doing a Indiegogo of her own to build this cultural center, this hub, this place for people to meet, for events to be hosted, that kind of thing. She's going to explain it. But one of her sort of missions is to show people and to explain to them all about this village in Paris that's right next to Montmartre and the Sacré-Cœur, but which gets a lot fewer visitors. So I'm going to let her talk you through it. We chatted on Zoom. Hang around at the end of the episode where I'll read some emails, or Gmail, as I call it sometimes. And if you fancy it, go to the show notes or my website, or just Google it and support this Indiegogo campaign. If you don't have the link in front of you, just search for Little Africa 2.0, a Parisian village, on Indiegogo.com. I've done it. I've supported. I hope all you guys do too. Let Jacqueline know that Eiffel Tower listeners make a difference. But let's get into the chat. I guarantee you'll learn something. And as always, all the information, every dish that's mentioned, every shop has been collected by Eddie into a scroll that you can get if you're a Patreon supporter. I'll talk to you about that at the end. Let's get into it. Here we go. Little Africa 2.0, a Parisian village with Jacqueline Ngo Mpii. Jackie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Oliver. Thank you for welcoming me.
Thank you for agreeing to be on the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's quite hot at the moment in Paris, but I'm doing super, super great today.
Right. But it's not as hot as it was last week, right? Wasn't it like super?
No, but I was quite surprised because I felt like, we had 2 days of raining. So yesterday I get out and I felt that, it's going to be okay. Oh my God, it was so hot.
Yeah. Have you got any secrets against the canicule, the heat wave in Paris? Because I've got a secret, but I'm not sure it's a very good one. My secret is I go to those big water fountains, the Wallace fountains, and I pour water on my feet because they get so hot from the pavement. I don't know if that's for everyone, but have you got any secrets?
Honestly, no secret, just to dress, things that are very light, because yesterday, for example, I was with my jean and very heavy and I was sweated, it's just horrible. And have water. I think water solves many problems, to drink a lot of water.
Is that difficult for Parisian women to have to think about fashion and heat waves at the same time? Or is that something that comes naturally to you guys?
Yes, especially for the makeup, because the makeup, for the fashion, I don't really, I'm not something that I'm somebody spending a lot of time on fashion and even makeup, but I do makeup sometimes. And when it's very hot, it's very difficult because you have to think about how your skin is going to look like and how you're going to, I will say for makeup, it's very complicated. Yes.
Yeah. But you can always get tips from one of our mutual friends, Caroline de Maigret. Doesn't she have all the secrets with that kind of stuff?
Yes, especially on her last book, Older But Better.
Yeah.
She has some crazy anecdotes inside. It's so crazy, and even if I'm just 30, I'm 31.
Right.
I can rely on many of the anecdotes that they are, saying on the books. It's so funny,
Yeah, I tell you what, Jackie, I couldn't. Most of those anecdotes didn't mean much to me as an Australian man in Paris, but I could appreciate the book. But we're not here to talk about her book today. Indeed, we're here to talk about two things especially. One, and I think what we can start with,
is the neighborhood, this overlooked neighborhood, and what it all means, but then also what you're trying to do there. But let's start with the neighborhood itself. Let's imagine you're talking into someone in, I don't know, let's say California, who thinks they know Paris really well, and they've been to Montmartre 65 times.
Yeah.
Do you think it's likely that they've been to the section of the Paris that you specialize in?
No, actually, it's quite one of the things that makes our tour very popular for the last 5 years is that most of the people, Paris is an international city, the most visited city, and people always had this kind of feeling like, Paris, they own Paris, and okay, I have been there, it's my home, I have friends there, I have a second house there. I know Paris. There is nothing that I don't know. And they are quite surprised when they found out about our tour and our company, in the neighborhood. They're like, what is this? Okay, let's try it. And it's funny because I have a lot of Californian, by the way, on the tour. They are the majority.
Funny. And, perfect. You're talking to the audience.
And so when they arrive, they are quite very surprised and they are quite, shocked by not knowing that this neighborhood exists, especially when you think about the fact that it's in the 18th, it's adjacent to Montmartre, which is for the last 2 years has been the biggest visited area neighborhoods of Paris, with 11 millions of tourists, which is huge.
11 million went to Montmartre? Oh my goodness. That explains.
Yes, 11 millions of tourists. But no one had an idea. And what is so funny is that I used to live by Anvers, which is just right at the, top, the bottom of the when you go to Sacré-Cœur.
That's right, yeah.
And so I spent 3 years there, and I have been playing the guide, for many tourists who were getting off to the station of Barbès or Château Rouge, and they were looking to get access to Montmartre, and they were kind of feel like, oh, where are we? What is this place? What is this area? And I was always telling them, don't worry, stay calm. You're not lost. You're still in Paris, and Sacré-Cœur is just 5 minutes away. Just go by this direction and things like that.
Right.
And this is also when I was starting my project, and I felt like, when I felt about launching the tour, it was all about how can we somehow also let the people, all these travelers and tourists coming to the neighborhood, let the people know that there is another interest that is just nearby, and where they can find lovely things, amazing stories. And okay, let's build something. Let's build a walking tour there. And that neighborhood we are talking about is La Goutte.
La Goutte. So firstly, let's start really basic. Help me to pronounce it like a French person.
La Goutte.
La Goutte. La Goutte.
Yes.
Everyone at home is saying it along with us. La Goutte. And it's spelled, it's 3 words, la, and it would look like goutte d'or. Yes. And what does that mean? Yeah. Does it translate to something?
It means drop of gold, and it's actually related to the fact that up to the 18th century, this neighborhood was a place for the production of a white wine that was very good, and that wine has the color, very yellow particular color that gave the names to the neighborhood, but also to the wine.
What a beautiful name.
I would say in terms of color, I would say that if you drink, about the Montbazillac, which is one of my best wine, sweet wine, the color is it's very a gold color. So that's what also gave the name to the neighborhood.
Tell me the name of that wine again, one more time. Montbazillac, do you say?
Montbazillac. It's very sweet. I love that wine. It's like the Jurançon. The Jurançon, so it's I love sweet white wine. It's very good for dessert and just like aperitif, and sometimes I just took it as a dessert by itself.
Sometimes I take wine as a starter and a main course, but we should talk not much about that.
No.
So the Goutte d'Or it's kind of. So I had the mayor of the 18e on my show once before, and I asked him, because obviously he's the mayor of Montmartre, but he was very keen to talk about the Goutte d'Or and the area there as well. And he particularly recommended the street Mira. Is it Mira?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But maybe to sort of tie it together, that neighborhood, it's to the east of Montmartre, and does it extend really far to the north, or is it just kind of around that train station area?
It kind of big. It's actually built around 4 or 5 metro stop stations. So you have Barbès, you have La Chapelle. You arrive at Mars d'Ormois. You have Mercat des Poissonniers, and you go up to Château Rouge, and you arrive again at Barbès. So it's quite big. I mean, that's how I see the larger part of it. Around the metro stop station, and but basically it's really around streets like Rue de Douteville, you have Rue de la Goutte d'Or, Boulevard Barbès, Boulevard Magenta, and you have those streets that basically it's formed like a triangle, and that's La Goutte d'Or. That's La Goutte d'Or, and Rue Mira. I won't say that it's becoming the Champs-Élysées of the neighborhood.
Right.
In Paris, every time we have a big street, outside of Paris, that is very dynamic. People tend to call it like the Champs-Élysées.
Is that so?
City.
Right.
Yeah. So it's very dynamic, and it's one of the biggest interests of our walking tour, because we do take people on that street in particular, because it's one of the most transformed one. I have seen through the years many businesses coming and being established there, but also our tour is about fashion, and you have two promising, Afro-Parisian brands that are doing very well and doing a great job. And one of them have dressed Beyonce, for example, 2 years ago.
Wow, cool.
So it's really cool. And
was that when she came here for the Louvre video that she did?
No, it's actually when she was in South Africa, and her fashion stylists, have look at many brands. I don't know exactly how it happens, but one of the designers who get picked up to dress her was one of the designers from that street in Paris.
What are the names of those two designers that are up there?
So you have the fashion brand and design. It's Pearl Vagabond. So the founder is Dina. She's an amazing and talented woman using a very specific fabric from the continent, which is not the wax, actually. And it's a very wave textile having bright colors, and it's very interesting what she's doing with. Cool. And the other brand is Maison Château Rouge that is focused on the wax fabric, but not anymore, because they're kind of produce also their own fabrics patterns now. Right. But yeah, you have those two interesting brands, and you have other brands for shoes. You have a bookstore, coffee shop store there. You have, eating places, and it's really interesting. You have a nice restaurant where to eat a thiboudienne that I usually post on our social media, and people are like, oh my God, I'm dying, I want to eat that. That's usually on that street that I have that meal.
And I've got so many questions now. Firstly, what's the name of your social media so people can go check it out?
Little Africa Travel.
Little Africa Travel in English. That's nice.
Yes.
And then
you want to know a funny thing about that? By the way,
yeah, sure. I'd love to.
So actually, the name of our company, it's Little Africa.
Yeah. And
through the years, when I picked up the name 6 years ago, I really was inspired by Americans' little neighborhoods, that are labeled, Little Italy, Little Cuba, little things like that. And I found out later, after I launched my company, that the neighborhood of La Goutte d'Or is actually known by travelers as Little Africa.
Interesting. So why? So that's. Hang on. So then, did that?
Yeah.
So you named it before you found that out?
Yeah, I named it because I found it out. Because people are sometimes people were Googling, on Google, like we want to go to Little Africa, or people were asking, where is the Little Africa of Paris? I heard about a neighborhood of Little Africa neighborhood. So when you hear tourists talking about Little Africa in Paris, it's usually not necessarily us they're talking about. They're talking about the neighborhood, actually.
That's cool. I can relate to that, because sometimes on Instagram, people like tourists who go to the Eiffel Tower will tag me, the Eiffel Tower, in their pictures in front of the tower. And I look at it, I'm like, hang on, this has got nothing to do with me at all, but I'll take it. I'll take it. But the other question, before I just get back to that Little Africa, is I don't actually know what you're talking about with this wax fabric, or I don't know. What do you mean by that?
Well, it means, Oliver, first you need to, when you come back to Paris, you need to come on the tour.
But you know already that's the first thing I'm going to do.
You need to come on the tour. So basically, actually, I mean, our tour is based on the African fashion industry of the neighborhood, but also the history of the neighborhood. And why not, if you just Google African fabric, the images of the fabric that you're going to see on the Google images, also through the articles, it's a fabric that is called the wax. It's something that you have seen. Oh, I have some things here. This is the wax.
So for people listening at home, they won't know that me and Jackie are on a Zoom video, but I can see it. No, you can explain it. It's a very colorful.
But
it's very
colorful. Yeah, it was a pillow actually. And so it's a colorful fabric inspired by the batik fabric from Indonesia actually, and it's made with colorful patterns, many colors, and many of them have names and some of them have significations. And it's called the wax, which is actually a Dutch word, which means, I don't know the translation in English because everybody uses it also. Right. It's the material that is used for candles, and it's actually was implemented on the process of producing that fabric by the Dutch, and it make it very specific,
Amazing. I'm learning so much. I love it. Now, back to Little Africa. The obvious question is, why is it called Little Africa? Is it as obvious that people from, with African heritage live there? Or is there more to it than that? Or
I mean, it's called Little Africa because, the biggest population, that you can see actually, and also the business specialities or from Africa. But you don't only have the African community there, you also have many other nationalities. And actually, it's a neighborhood that have been through the years, and I will say through almost a century, being an immigrant neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So African people are the last arrival, I would say. But before that, you have immigrant population from Portugal, from Spain, from Russia also. And African people arrived after the independencies, and sometimes even before, but from North Africa.
Right. Interesting. So is it like the whole of Africa? Like, I know you were born in Cameroon. So then we got the north of Africa, and so you're west, they're north. We got like east and south as well.
So the Cameroon is Central Africa, and it's very interesting when you look at the neighborhood, the way it is shaped actually, because it is shaped exactly how the continent actually is shaped today. Wow. Meaning that when you talk about the African continent, which is huge, you have a zone that is called the Maghreb. That is 4 or 5 countries and from Muslim culture, and populated by Arabian people and Berber. So you have population from Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, and when you arrive at the neighborhood, you have an entire zone where it's only, the population and the activities are, you can tell and you can see it's part of that zone from the continent.
Right.
And when you start getting deep inside the neighborhood, there is another zone where you start getting into the sub-Saharan African, which is the Black Africa. And you can tell through the people you see, through the businesses you see also. So it's really interesting to see that even here you have this, it's not actually a division, but it's also a cultural association, people who gather together because of their culture or religion appartenance, and yeah.
Wow, how fascinating. That's so interesting. I wonder also if there's a Madagascar contingent hanging off on the East Coast somewhere, heading over to the 19th district.
Probably, one of the main, if I can say reproach, one of the things that people want us to do more or to say more during the tour is to really identify the different African countries that you can in the neighborhood, which is quite difficult because one of the things that we're sure is that for sure, the majority is from French-speaking African countries,
Sure.
because this is related also to the colonial history of France. And so you won't find that much people who speak English, so from African English-speaking countries. And but the majority will come from West Africa and Central Africa. So you have population like Senegal, Mali, Ivory Coast, Congo, Cameroon, also Togo, Benin. Those are the majority, but you can find for Madagascar. I'm not sure. I have met a shop there from that particular region. But one thing that is sure is that the entire continent meets there, which makes it very particular because of the food. Everybody gather through the food.
Yeah.
So whatever you need, any ingredient for Caribbean cuisine, African cuisine, Maghrebian cuisine, you go to that neighborhood.
I've got a question that you're going to probably think is impossible, but we have to make it possible. Let's say that there's someone listening who says, I've never had an African meal before ever in my life. What should I have as my first? What would you recommend? And I can only take one answer, I'm afraid, Jackie.
I will say you must try the thieboudienne, which is the special national meal from Senegal, and it's rice cooked for hours, with tomato sauce, with vegetables, and my best is with the fish, and that's what you need to test first. The thieboudienne.
Thieboudienne. Okay. Hard to pronounce, but easy to eat.
Oh, there we go. You're doing good.
Okay. I wanted to bring up something a little controversial, is that you used the word zone when you were talking about the different parts of the Goutte d'Or.
Yeah.
Kind of infamously, I think it was American media referred to some parts of Paris, including the Goutte d'Or, as a no-go zone, which prompted like massive outrage from a lot of French people and Parisians. And people around the world. I know this was a couple of years ago, but what do you think? Why did they say that, and what's your reaction to it?
I think that they say that probably because, and this is also one of the reasons, I started doing the job that we're doing in the neighborhood. Actually, I created the walking tours, to be honest, to one of the main reasons and the mission that I wanted to push you through that project was to go against the cliche that are spread all over the internet about that neighborhood, because those cliche has been built through the years through different documentaries and images shot, about the neighborhood, and it has the bad effect of creating the image of a ghetto zone, a very dangerous zone, a no-go zone, and I just feel like I didn't want people when they go online and they search for something, I don't know what they can Google and arrive into something, into a element of that neighborhood, and to have only those images and only those content. And I think that this is also probably what happened with one of those journalists, and not getting very deeply into the subject, or calling some expert to tell them. And I think that they just Google, and it probably, when you Google probably ghetto or no-go zone, maybe the neighborhood is something that pops up, but it's not a no-go zone.
And I think anyone who takes your tours would surely agree. And by the way, before I forget, one day we should do a video together, a live video where you show me around. Are you up for that?
Yeah, totally.
Great. But the other thing I was going to say, sort of to lead back to the first point, was what's probably missing in La Goutte d'Or is a kind of brick and mortar place that you were tied to somehow. Is this something that you're working on behind the scenes? Of course, I know it is, but can you tell me a bit about the idea of your big project?
Yes. Actually, that is something that was missing to our project. And I do think that some people think that we might be crazy, with the pandemic. Like, what are they doing? They are going physical, So we have been thinking about going physical for quite a while now, actually 2 years ago, because something for some people who haven't seen our video, but it's true stories and it's not a joke. People were coming to our working office in the 8th arrondissement of Paris, and they were knocking at the door because they were thinking that they're either coming to the neighborhood of Little Africa, or they were coming to try to buy our city guide book, or they were coming because they were hoping to meet me and have some chat moment with me, whatever. So we have those people coming around and around in the neighborhood. So, but also another interesting thing happened is that people were asking us to organize more events. They wanted to come more into Little Africa, to be more immersed into Little Africa spirit and conversations. And we couldn't really do that. So we felt that, okay, if one day we have to go physical, it should be in a neighborhood where we spend most of our time, which is La Goutte d'Or. It should be in a neighborhood where we had tangible results, where we have brought people and people loved it, and to keep doing what we have been doing. So that's why I'm glad to announce that we are opening a space there in the future. We can't announce yet when it's going to be, because we have to be careful with the time of construction that we might need. And at the point right now, we don't know. Everybody's on vacation. But we are opening there for sure next year. If you come back, maybe on spring or in summer or in December next year, you will find us there. And it's a place that we want it to be your home, first of all, a place where everybody can come and find information. So especially you guys and tourists. I have seen so many of you being lost around the neighborhood and even beyond, and just have a place where you can know that, okay, I can come here and just sit for 5 minutes because I'm waiting for my group and they are coming later. Or I'm wondering, I'm having an Airbnb nearby. I don't know what's the neighborhood, what's around. Okay, where can I get those information? Where can I go and eat a Thieboudienne, for example?
Thieboudienne. So it's like a hub, like a place where...
it's going to be a hub, a networking place, an events place, because we curate also exhibitions about African contemporary art. So we're going to curate exhibitions, conferences, but also we have all our publishing line that we're going to develop more. So more city guides coming, more collaborations coming. And your book, for example, Oliver, I would love to host you, for example, for a conversation and hear about your story.
Oh, that's very kind of you. I'm in. That sounds like fun. Thank you for that. That'd be cool. Yeah, sure. The good news is as well. So I don't think you quite said it yet, but you're running an Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign. But do you already know where the place is going to be? Have you got an address, or is that still...
Oh yeah, we know. I'm not going to say it, but we already have the address. Actually, we're still waiting for the people in charge of our folder to get back from vacation.
Right.
But we have this place. It's a huge space. It's a 2-level space. And we should be there in September to start looking around the constructions. But yeah, we're running an Indigo crowdfunding campaign because, we have, I won't say huge constructions, to be done, but we do have some. But most importantly, we have a vision, a vision of transforming and implementing more projects, following our philanthropic, mission that we have started to do years ago, which is, pushing more and helping more emerging artists.
Yeah.
So we want, for example, be able to have artist residencies coming to the neighborhood and working around the neighborhood.
So cool. And is that what the Indiegogo money goes towards? Or is that just to what?
The first, actually, we have 2 different levels for the Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign. The first level is mainly focused on the construction of the building, and also being able to invite one artist to come and to have one of his frame on our shop.
So
but
cool.
The first level is 30,000. It's dedicated only to the shop and to help us, pay part of the construction needed. And then we have other levels that is more about Little Africa vision, in terms of we want to publish over city guides around Europe. We won't be able to launch an app. We won't be able to do artist residency. And most importantly, Oliver, with what happened the last month with the Black Lives Matter movement, here from this part in France, we arrived at the point where people were kind of feeling lost about what are the organizations, the cultural organizations that support all that fight against racism. And we find ourselves in a very tricky position because we were working already on the foundation project, but we couldn't launch it because we were expecting for more and more raising money. And also at the same time, we were starting to give people information that people weren't feeling really in confidence with some of the institutions that we have here.
Sure.
So we thought that maybe we should include in our foundation project maybe a line, a mission that is dedicated to support not something that is called fighting against tourism, but something that is still on our score, services, which is educating people. And we think that education go through content, and there was a lot of people out there with amazing projects that we would love to support in the future.
Wonderful.
Because they are providing tools that help everybody to get educated about everything that we're living, about racism, about discriminations, about, everybody placed in the society. So that's the vision actually of the crowdfunding project.
Well, the good news is that the listeners to this show are very familiar with how crowdfunding works, in that they crowdfunded my book, but also many hundreds and hundreds of them proved to ally themselves to the Black Lives Matter when we did the crowdfunding. Was that a month ago already? Goodness me, time flies. For which one of your books was among the prizes. So we already know that Earful Tower listeners are passionate and crowdfunding experts. So I'll be sharing that link in the show notes and everywhere so people can get to be part of it.
Amazing.
Because I think...
And we have amazing rewards. I mean, you would enjoy the rewards that we have.
Give me a taster. Give me a taster of the favorite. What's one of the best ones?
The best one is the city guide book, people loved. And, once people can travel, at least they can get something that makes them travel. So the book is still the best option for that. But we also have, one of the things that we did is that we built most of our rewards in the way we envision our village, because our place is going to be called a village, a Little Africa Paris village. And we basically give a title, a very specific title to our donators. And so everybody is part of that, it's of our village community. So let's say, for example, if you give $35 euros, you're considered as a messenger, and we have a specific definition of what a messenger is for Little Africa village. And if you give, for example, a elder or a seers, we have people that are seers. Those are, for example, people who have the vision of how Little Africa can be in the future, and they invest in our project because of that. So we have amazing rewards.
I'm looking at them right now. I've got them in front of me. So the seer and the elder and the sculptor and the farmer. How do you pronounce is it griot?
Griot, yes.
Griot. Okay. Well,
yeah.
So everybody listening, I think you all know how it works. If you want to be part of it, go and jump on that link there and be part of it. And it sounds very much to me like I'll be in there one day doing some kind of something. At least I'll be there for one of the tours. But I think our time is slipping away from us, Jackie. But I think what could be really fun is something I haven't done for a long time on this show. It's the dreaded quickfire round, where I ask you 5 or so questions really quick, unplanned, unscripted, and you're not allowed, by very definition of the game, you're not allowed to think of your answers. It just has to be honest, quick answers. And I think we focus it all on this neighborhood of the Goutte. Okay, are you ready? Okay, here we go. Tell me one restaurant in the neighborhood that I absolutely should visit.
The Jacqueline, I will say. I don't know exactly the name of it because it's No, the Chakri.
How are we meant to find it if you don't know the name of it? What's the Chakri?
Honestly, I just go there and I don't pay attention, honestly, to the names. And it's Chari, I think. That's probably the name.
Okay. What about your favorite street, the one street in the neighborhood that everyone should walk down?
You should go to Rue de Panama, because there you have one shop owner. He's crazy. He will make you spend an amazing time with him posing, and he's called a sapper. Mm-hmm. And trust me, you're going to have your best time in the neighborhood.
Okay. What about a bar? Is there a good bar?
A bar? No, I don't. It's not a place where I go for a drink.
It sounds like you're cheating on the quickfire round. Coming for What about a cafe?
So the cafe, I would recommend you to go at the Islamic Institute of Cultures, where you can eat, have a nice Moroccan tea and coffee and pastries. So that's where you have to go. Okay,
and the last question, this will take you by surprise. Imagine Imagine that you forgetting the Goutte d'Or for a second, and you have to go and spend an afternoon anywhere else in Paris. Uh-huh. Where would you go? Your last afternoon here.
Woo! You know what? I would go to Montmartre probably.
Yeah.
Because you are on the top of the city and you're top of everything, and I will go to Montmartre.
Good answer. And it's not so far from your new cultural hub. Smart answer as well. Okay, well, I think that'll do for the quickfire round. Thanks so much for being a guest on the show.
Oliver, and thank you to everyone listening to us. Thank you. It was lovely chatting.
Hey, don't say thank you yet. They haven't subscribed on Indiegogo. Thank you after that. But no, thanks to you for what you're doing for the Paris community, and thanks for being on the show. And I look forward to seeing you in Paris.
Yes, Oliver. Let's catch up in September.
See you then.
See you. Bye-bye.
So there you have it. I think the first thing I'll do when I get back to Paris is visit the Goutte d'Or and meet with Jacqueline and do that tour. I think it sounds really great. I think it's something good for all you guys out there who like secrets of Paris, who like discovering new sides of the city. Maybe you've already gone and done all the famous stuff and it's time to see something different. It sounds like this is for you. And a reminder, Indiegogo, Little Africa 2.0, a Parisian village. You can see all the stuff they're doing. You can see there are images, there's graphics, there's everything to give you an idea of what you can help to build. Doesn't that feel good, helping make something in Paris? But anyway, enough of that. I hope you all check it out. A reminder that everything that Jacqueline mentioned in that chat has been written down by my brother Eddie, the new addition to the Eiffel Tower team, made into a beautiful scroll. I would never use the word PDF document to describe it, even though that's what it is. But all the pictures, all the links, all the restaurants, everything, along with a bunch of other scrolls that you get if you sign up and support the Eiffel Tower as a member on Patreon. But that's not your first port of call. It's the Indiegogo project, of course. Go and check that out. So what I often do at the end of these podcast episodes is I read a little bit of Gmail. If you're new around here and you didn't catch it, my last name is G, which is why I call it Gmail. I'm not sponsored by Google, and I just read out a couple. And I got so many emails in after last week's episode where I did the untranslatable words. So many emails, fewer than I thought, that said, this isn't untranslatable. Fewer than I thought, but there were a few of them. But the fun ones were the people who said, what about this? Have you thought of this? I thought that was kind of fun. So I'll read a couple of them out. Elizabeth writes in, Salut Oliver, greetings from New Jersey, USA. Ooh, how exotic. Isn't that where Bruce Springsteen's from? I just heard your podcast, which included the use of vachement, and it put a smile on my face. If you didn't listen last week, vachement is kind of like cowly. It's like that's cowly good, really good. She continues, I learned my French back in the late 70s in southern Switzerland, and my host family used it a lot, as in the word vachement. When I asked about the cow part, they gave credit to their cows, which gave them their glorious cheeses. Also, whenever we passed or hiked up to a waterfall in the Alps, my Swiss siblings called it a pisse vache. A pisse vache, as in As in a cow peeing? I honestly thought the two expressions were slang, and when I tried to use the vachement in Paris through my junior year and subsequent trips throughout my career as a high school French teacher, the French were rather surprised I knew this word, so I guess it has caught on more. Yeah, just my 2 cents, she says. I look forward to hearing your next editions and will look into subscribing as well. A plus. Well, thanks very much, Elizabeth. I hope you do subscribe at least to the podcast. Even better if you become a member. I think I should mention, speaking of members, that I just this week launched annual membership. So I know a lot of people got in touch over the years and said, I don't want my card to be charged every month for your podcast. Is there another option? I've always just said no. But now I can say sign up for a year, you get 2 months for free. So it's kind of weird. It might sound like a lot, but if you sign up as a member for $10 a month, you can do it for $100 for the whole year, which I think is worth it. Get it out of the way. 1 year, $100. Give it a look now. So here's another one I got, and this one is dedicated. I think this is going to bring a smile to somebody's face. This is the suggestion that comes in from the husband of Peggy Bruns. Now, it says Peggy is one of my Patreon supporters and a big fan. Well, of course I knew that much, but this comes in from your husband, Peggy, Robert Fisher. And he says, Oliver, I appreciate your podcast on 10 non-translatable words in French. I'm a student of French and I enjoy any tips like this that I can get. However, I'd like to return the favor. Oh, here we go, Robert. He says, you covered the word chez quite well. So C-H-E-Z, C-H-E-Z if you prefer. And I said it kind of means like chez moi, chez toi, like at your place. But Robert says, but there are nuances regarding the word chez that you didn't cover. Chez is used quite elegantly in sentences referring to subsets of people, e.g., chez les femmes, chez les ados. So, for example, it's actually a really good example. So it's like among women or among men or among basketball players, you say chez. So it's not just at their house. It's a good nuance, yes. So there you go, an extra nuance. Who would have thought there were more nuances to this than I'd already mentioned? But thanks for the email, Robert. Thanks for listening and for being a supporter, Peggy. And I really like that idea of surprising someone that you love on this podcast. So if you're sitting in the car or you're at home and you're listening with your loved one, why not look over at them now? Give a little sort of knowing smile, and then one of you, I don't know which one, send me an email and surprise them with some kind of lovely message. Keep it Paris related. I'm not going to read love letters here. But why not? Let's do it. And only do it if you think they're really going to listen to the next episode. Otherwise, it's a bit wasted. But let's do it. I love promoting love. What a way to end an episode. Speaking of, I'm going to end it there. Thanks to all who in the virtual Zoom chats I've been doing in the past couple of days. 280 people watched my Secrets of Paris. If you missed that, I'm afraid you missed it, but I did put the scroll up for Patreon members, patreon.com/The Eiffel Tower. I'll leave it at that. I'm looking forward to more episodes in the coming weeks. I'll see you soon. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.